Hello and welcome to a brand new Parry's Pickups. We've got 4 more games for you this time, starting off with a game which I think could be considered a hidden gem. Hate to say it, but it could be. I've seen a lot of this particular game on social media lately and it got me curious enough to check it out. It's a Game Boy Advance game and it's based on a Cartoon Network series. That series is Hi Hi Puffy AmiYumi, or AmiYumi. And this is a 2D platformer developed by Altron and published by D3 Publisher. So this came out, when did it come out now? I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was one of the first Nintendo games based on the Cartoon Network series. Of course, this show, don't know if any of you guys remember, I certainly do from the time. It was quite a fun, colourful TV show. Now, these two characters are based on popular Japanese rock band, and if you look closely, you can see the real people who these characters are based on in here. And how does the game play? That's the most important part here. And very nicely, you can switch between the two characters, Amy and Yumi, and they both have different skills. So sometimes you'll have to change to a certain character to get past a certain part of the level, or other times you can sort of choose which tactic you'd like. Yumi has stronger abilities into, I'm talking about to the strength here, so like she can hit stuff and push blocks, whereas Amy, she can use a grappling hook and she can jump high. She's the agile one, and and Yumi is the tougher brawler type character. Visuals are really nice in this. I really love the sprite work on the characters and the animations. General presentation is of a very high quality in this game. The levels themselves are relatively simple, so don't expect, at least at the beginning of the game, to have much difficulty. It's a kids game after all, and you know, with games like this I just like playing through them for the characters, the animations, yeah, the general fun of playing the game. And I'm happy to say this game is a lot of fun. It may be simple fun, but it is still really enjoyable. I was very surprised actually, after finishing the first 3 stages of the first world, to then be transported into the air, and you actually get a little extra mission where you're piloting their tour bus and shooting down enemies as you fly through the air on the way to your next destination. Basically what's happened in the story is one of your huge fans has decided they want you to go on tour again. They want to go on tour with you. And you've just got back from a grueling rock tour and you don't want to be bothered with that. So what she decides to do is go on a world tour of her own. She kidnaps your manager, which is this character up here named Kaz, and all your instruments. But strangely enough, right after she says we have taken your instruments, Yumi pulls out her guitar, which he does use in the game. So, well, who cares? Continuity, but it doesn't matter in a game like this. So she goes off, and so it's your mission to go around the world again, just after going back off tour, in order to rescue your manager, get your instruments back, and sort out this super fan. And she's not the only super fan in the game. The game is quite unique in terms of its enemies. Rather than attacking the majority of the enemies, they are just fans who are kind of just causing you hassle, and if they get hold of you, you have to tap A to get free from them. So I thought this was quite a cool idea, is to take the characters and what makes them who they are and then apply something in universe to the enemies in the game. So you basically distract your fans with pressing down A, I think, and you can do a guitar solo, or you can sing a couple of notes as Amy. It depends if you're Amy or Yumi. They both have different animations when they do this move. That's really nice that you've got 2 characters with 2 different move sets, and it adds some sort of puzzle elements into the game as well. But in terms of variety, it's really nice to have 2 characters to play as. There are regular type enemies. You'll need to use Yumi to attack them. She's the only one with any kind of physical attack. She can sort of punch her enemies, or she can use a attack with her guitar. And you can also use that attack to break down walls. And as I said, I think previously, she can push boxes around as well to open up different routes to get through in the level. There's musical notes to collect within the levels. There's also hidden instruments. I kind of see these as extra collectibles, so you don't really need to collect all of them to get through a level. Basically, once you get to the speaker, there's like a floating speaker at the end of every stage, and you just jump up, hit that, and then you're on to the next level. So in terms of collectibles, so far there doesn't seem to be any need to collect everything, but I'm sure they give you extra abilities and things. What is interesting is you can't change from Amy to Yumi all the time, because you have a sort of meter that will build up. You can only change once the meter is built up. It builds up very quickly, but it means you can't quickly zip in between them. I don't know why that is exactly. Maybe it's a gameplay mechanic that comes into play later on in the game. But it's very fun and very colourful. And I had no idea this game existed until recently, when I kept seeing this this box pop up on social media, and it got me interested enough to check it out. And considering what I paid for it as well, it was well worth it. Only £5 I think this was, boxed Game Boy Advance game. For a game which is starting to gain quite a lot of notoriety as a really fun game for the system. I'm surprised it's that price, and it will probably, if word gets out about this, I suppose, as being a really fun game, it may rise in value. I'd hope not, but occasionally that does happen. No danger of that happening on a channel as small as ours, but if Metal Jesus Rocks was to perhaps feature this in Hidden Gems video, it might be a different occurrence. But yeah, so there are other ways to find hidden gems rather than watching a particular video series. You can always watch Parry's pickups and maybe find something that you weren't aware existed before, as it was the case for me with this particular game. A lovely colourful box art as well. And the next three games we're going to talk about, we're not going to talk about in as much detail as that particular one, but I have actually played them all. The first you can't really say much about, that's Everybody's Golf. If you've played any game in the series, you'll know what to expect in this PSP version of it. I think this was an earlier PSP title, and a great game for the system if you're just picking it up, because it is a very easy to play portable golf game. The Everybody's Golf series, or Hot Shots Golf that's known in the States, has been incredibly accessible and enjoyable since it first appeared on the original PlayStation. This entry is no exception to that. I will say that maybe having played more of the Everybody's Golf game on the Vita, that does make some marked improvements over this one, but that's to be expected. It's a much newer game. And the Everybody's Golf on the PS4 is just the ultimate package. But if you're looking for something for your PSP, you can't go wrong with this. There are two PSP Everybody's Golf games. I've not played the second one. I assume it adds extra stuff, because this is a fairly straightforward golf game. But if you just want a game of golf, you really can't argue with this. Was, I think, £2 from CX. It can probably be got cheaper. It's a fairly common game, but it was in great condition, works fine, doesn't have that usual, oops, I say doesn't have that usual Vita, sorry, PSP, not Vita, problem of the this casing splitting that you get with a lot of second-hand games. I know there's methods to put it in a new case or fix that. It's not a hard thing to do, but it's a bit annoying when you buy a second-hand Vita game and find that the game itself is falling apart, which unfortunately was a problem with these UMD discs. So yeah, what can I say? You can play wirelessly, head-to-head. There's definitely loads to keep you busy here. Maybe a couple of the controls could be a little bit more intuitive, but you're not going to have much problem with them. There's a lot of opportunities to move the camera in and out and view the action in different ways. Not all of them I think are necessary, and it seems to be lacking just a more standardised way of zooming forward to where your shot's going to land, perhaps. That's a very minor criticism of the game. I only mention it because it's been done better in later Everybody's Golf games. And next up we have, oh, the funny one here. This is Dragonball Evolution. This is a video game based off the terrible movie, and I will say terrible movie. Of course, people hated the idea of this film even before it came out. Of course, the proof is always in the pudding, so I did watch it, and I found it to be incredibly disappointing, and just hasn't got the same spirit as the Dragon Ball we all know and love. So you'd think that this game would be terrible. Thankfully, it's based on the engine, the Budokai engine, and there are 2 Shin Budokai games available for the PSP. And to me, from playing what I've played of the first Shin Budokai, I think the first one, yep, this is incredibly similar. And in fact, it may just be a reskin of that game. There is a sort of story mode, there are some images, character illustrations of the movie version characters, but everything in terms of the game's presentation, even though it's quite fully featured in terms of options and modes, is incredibly bland because, you know, the subject matter, the reimagining of Dragon Ball that was created for the movie is incredibly bland, and it carries over into this game in a way you would expect it to. The actual gameplay, though, is just like a Shin Budokai game, from what I can gather. It's been a while since I've played one of those on the PSP, but it plays as you'd expect a traditional Dragon Ball Z fighter to play. So therefore, if you're a fan of that series and you're a fan of fighting games in general, this is sort of like the equivalent of the Street Fighter movie game adaptation there was. Back on the Saturn and PS1, you could get a version of Street Fighter movie game, and that was sort of like regular Street Fighter but with digitized characters, making it look more like Mortal Kombat. Obviously bringing along that personality, which is that film is fun compared to the bland film that this is based on. I think the live action Street Fighter movie is worth watching for a bit of fun. And same can't be said about this movie. Well, I don't recommend the movie. I can recommend this game if you can find it cheap enough. It's a bit of fun, and considering that a lot of the Shin Budokai games would probably end up costing a little bit more, then this is probably worth a shot if you can get it cheap enough. If you aren't totally turned off by the fact it's based on that movie. And lastly, what can I say about my final pickup, which was £1.50 CX, a wrestling game I don't own. It's perhaps the last one I was looking at getting, besides not having a wrestling game for the original DS. I'm up to date with my numbered entries into the series up until 2017, where I decided, considering I've already got 2015 and 2016 on the Xbox One and PS4 respectively, I'm not so interested in carrying on collecting the series after this point. This was, I say, £1.50. It's a good wrestling game. I've heard mixed reviews about which wrestling games are better than others. This is another. I think the wrestling series from SmackDown versus Raw to the numbered yearly entries has been consistently good throughout, really. I've enjoyed playing this game. Of course, it's got a few differences from the previous year's game. The Road to WrestleMania mode doesn't have the backstage stuff. It feels a little bit simpler in that way and a little less free. There's a lot of scripted events in it that you have to kind of do. Sometimes you'll find yourself doing the objective within that particular part of the Road to WrestleMania section, and then suddenly not being able to even finish the match, even to pin an opponent, because then the storyline, the cutscene takes over. So yeah, it's got a very basic, not very interactive Road to WrestleMania mode. The actual wrestling is very good, I would say, especially for the money. You can do far worse than that. So that's it for this episode of Parry's Pickup. Thanks very much for taking time to watch it. Always appreciate it, and I hope you found maybe something there that is of interest to you, and maybe me talking about it has helped you maybe decide whether or not you want to try that game out, which is what this series is all about. So Until I see you again from another episode of Parry's Pickups, happy gaming. Bye for now.